behalf of the school committee, the Board of Selectmen, the Finance Committee, and especially the Secondary School Building Committee, I want to welcome you and thank you for coming to tonight's meeting. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to update and give information to the public about the status of the middle school and high school building projects. In order to do that, we're going to give a brief presentation, and I promise you, I think I can promise you, it won't take more than 30 minutes. We have several speakers who are going to participate in that presentation. Superintendent of Schools Kathleen Willis is going to get up and speak to you about the history of the project and how we actually got to where we are today. After Kathleen's through, Brad Dorr from Dorr and Whittier, who is the architect that we've retained for this project, is going to get up and talk to you about the design of the project and the submission that we are going to make to the Mass School Building Authority sometime in December. And when Brad's through, we're going to ask Don Kelleher, the Vice Chairman of the Finance Committee, to come up, and he's going to talk about the estimated costs of the project and other financial information. Right after the presentation, we are going to open the meeting for questions and comments from the audience. And in order to answer those questions and comments, we put together a panel who is going to respond. So I'm going to ask you again to hold all questions until after the presentation is complete. On the panel, we have Sean Delaney from the Board of Selectmen, Don Kelleher from the Finance Committee, John Bernard, the high school principal, Catherine O'Connell, the middle school principal, Michael Bitto, a student at North Reading High School class of 2013, will also be sitting on the panel. We have Janine Imbriano from the Secondary School Building Committee. We have Chris Simler, our project manager. Chris is from PMA Consultant Services. We have Brad Dorr, our architect, and Kathleen Willis, our superintendent. We also have tonight Brad Jones, our state representative. Brad is the minority leader in the House of Representatives, and Brad was instrumental in getting this project into the MSBA and getting them to consider this project. So we're very grateful for Brad for that and for being here tonight. I also want to take the time to acknowledge the Secondary School Building Committee. A lot of these people have been on this committee, believe it or not, since the year 2000, and most of them have been on this committee since the committee was reorganized back in 2005. And the members of the committee, most of them are here tonight, and I'd just like to acknowledge them for their hard work. They took a lot of time and spent a lot of hours trying to create a vision for what our schools should be in the 21st century, and now they're right on the doorstep of taking that vision and making it a reality. So again, I want to thank Chuck Carucci, our chairman. Chuck has been the chairman of this committee, I think, since 2000. And since the committee was reorganized in 2005, Chuck's been the chairman. He's put in countless number of hours. Laurie Woods is the vice chairman. Laurie, again, has been the vice chairman of this committee since 2005. Other members of the committee have put in a lot of hard work. Greg Doble, Phil Dardino, Jack Pecora, Ed Stiles, Helen Maynard, Danny McGinnis, Steve Nathan, Aldo Tramatozzi, Janine Imbriano, Cliff Bowers from the school committee, Wayne Hardacre, who's the director of buildings and grounds for the school department, Kathy Willis, our superintendent, John Bernard, the principal at the high school, Sean Delaney, vice chairman of the Board of Selectmen, Kathy O'Connell, the middle school principal, Don Kelleher, and Greg Balakonis, who is the town administrator. So at this point in time, I'm going to introduce Kathy Willis, and again, she's going to do the presentation on the history of the project, and we'll hold all questions until after the presentation is completed. Kathy?
Thank you, Jerry, and thank you all for being here this evening. Tonight, you're going to hear about the most exciting building project that will serve the North Reading community far into the future. So how did we get here? Jerry just told you that in 2005, this committee, the Secondary School Building Committee, had been working on the feasibility study for a new high school. But in 2006, there was a moratorium put on all building projects by the MSBA, so the project was put on hold. So we really began to move forward with the project again during the 2009-2010 school year. Now, as you know, we have between the middle school and the high school 15 modular classrooms. One key component driving this project is the overcrowding that we're currently experiencing. Over the last 20 years, we have seen a 33% increase in enrollment overall. And at the middle school, that percent is even higher. We've seen a 37% increase in enrollment. And at the high school, we've experienced an incredible 46% increase in enrollment in the last 20 years. And that is why we have overcrowding currently at both our middle school and our high school. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of background as we now return or begin with the PowerPoint presentation. You can see that first bullet on this slide under feasibility study talks about educational visioning and programming. I'd like to tell you that in, I believe it says May and June of 2011, the principals, the Director of Academic Services, and I spent an awful lot of time with our architects from Dora and Whittier and their educational program consultant named Frank Lockyer to really think about what does it take to build a school in the 21st century. So we began to research current thinking in the field around 21st century learning, and we discussed what skills students need for success. Skills like communication, collaboration, critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, and innovation. And once we started working on those skills and talking about what they look like in a classroom, being taught through, of course, a rigorous and relevant curriculum, we started to envision what those spaces looked like for our students. What would they need to have surrounding them in order to develop those skills to be successful in the 21st century? And so the concepts of a 21st century learning environment began to take place. It was truly an exciting time during the summer as we began that process. So as we began to understand the difference between 21st century educational environment and the 20th century and the 21st century learning environment, this conceptual model developed, and both the education program consultant and our architects came and met with our middle school teachers and our high school teachers to share this concept with them and to gain their feedback on what they believed would be successful in the 21st century. And then our architects took those ideas back, reworked the concept, and came back and presented it to our teachers. So right from the beginning, all of our educators have been involved in this process. It has truly been an inclusive process. Then we moved on to multiple design options. Throughout the months of May through July, we talked about what are those options that we can present to the MSBA that would be viable. We took a look at a new standalone high school. We took a look at the existing middle school with a renovation and addition project. And then we took a look at a combined new high school and renovated middle school with shared court facilities. And as you know by now, the preferred design option was that third option of a new high school with a renovated middle school and shared court facilities. So then we moved on, and this project was approved by the MSBA for schematic design on September 28th, 2011. But prior to that, the architects and I had to present this entire program option to the MSBA. It was a little grueling, a little nerve-wracking. We talked very fast, but we had an opportunity to present our vision, our hopes, our dreams, and our ideas to the MSBA. And after many questions, we received approval from the MSBA to move to the schematic design. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about that. The schematic design site and building took place over the month of October. And again, our architects met with our middle school and high school faculty and staff in small groups now to really review the design of education spaces. And in small groups, our faculty and our staff had an opportunity to provide input regarding what they thought a new school would need to propel this school district into the 21st century. The architects incorporated feedback into this design and then returned again to meet with specific groups to make sure they got it right. I can tell you that the staff was very thankful for this opportunity, and they made sure I knew that. Once that was completed, we went through a cost, well, we're in December now, from November to December, we're going through a cost estimate process. Over the course of the month of November leading to early December, the design is finalized and has been sent to estimators for both PMA Associates and Dora and Whittier to determine what the cost of the project will be. And you'll hear a little bit more about that further into the presentation. But by early December, we should have firm figures regarding the estimate of this project. The schematic design submission will take place in 1 week and a half. The entire project will be submitted to the MSBA, and over the course of December, the architect and ROPM will have conversations with the MSBA staff to answer any questions that they have, any comments or concerns, so that when the MSBA board comes together on January 25th, 2011, we can ensure that they will approve the North Reading Middle School, High School project. A quick overview for you, but that's where we are at this present time. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. As you can see, she's been busy. Next speaker is Brad Dorr from Dorr and Whittier. Brad is going to come up. He's the architect that we've retained for this project, and he's going to come up and talk about the design of the project and the submission that we are eventually going to make in December to the Mass School Building Authority. Brad?
Thank you. That's a tough act to follow there with the superintendent, but one thing I do is I do have some pictures, which will help help work us through this. But just before we get into that, the intent in terms of the process with the MSBA, it's a collaborative process. What we have to do is, because the state is funding this, at a significant level, they are part of the team in terms of determining, along with the town and with the school district, what is the most educationally appropriate solution. At the same time, they're another set of eyes on this project to go and ensure that costs are kept in line and consistent with other schools that we're seeing out in the marketplace. So we also have a partner here, which is the state, and we'll get into a little bit in terms of their contribution and other facets of their involvement. But as part of the design submission that we're planning on presenting to the MSBA next week, in fact, is that we go through the site design, which is reflected over here. You can see that one of the board seats were out in the lobby as well, and we'll go through that a little bit further in the presentation. We also go through and develop fairly detailed floor plans. The design is not complete at this stage. We're really at the schematic level, which overall, in terms of overall completeness of the design, represents about 15%. But it's able to, develop costs, be able to provide an understanding as to what the layout of the building, how the adjacencies of the classrooms, and how it's all going to work, as well as being able to provide a sense of what the building is going to look like, which we'll get into as well. Kathleen talked a little bit about the educational program process that we went through. It was very detailed, it was very involved, and again, the state is your partner in this because they do have a set of guidelines that we have to adhere to. And it's something in terms of, there's a certain space requirement for things like classrooms, for gymnasium space, for cafeterias, and it's based on the student population, and also takes into account the type of educational program and the intent of the teaching philosophy behind the district. And then we'll also get into a little bit of, in terms of the estimated cost of the project thus far. So as I was saying before, this is the site plan, and just to give you a little bit of kind of bearing here, this is Park out here, Route 62. This is your existing new artificial turf field, existing baseball field. This area right here is currently where the high school stands. This building right here and a portion of this space right here represents the existing middle school. And we'll get into it, but we're talking about bringing in new shared court facilities. We'll discuss what that means, a new high school academic, and then renovating the middle school. Additional parking now because we've moved the entire facility to the top of the hill, if you will, as well as various athletic fields, softball, multi-purpose, which could be used for lacrosse, for soccer, parking at this facility to service all of these athletic fields for community events and such, as well as tennis courts, which will be relocated over here. Currently, we have planned about 450 parking spaces at the upper level and roughly 185 spaces at the lower level. We would have the access or the traffic pattern would come off Park and go up the hill, cross the hill where the steep area